My friends, in the morning of March 1st, the US Air Force had one of its worst days in generations, as not one, not two, but three F-15E Strike Eagles were shot down over Kuwait. Those are the first official aerial losses of the coalition. But that's not all. Allegedly, a fourth F-15 was shot down yesterday over western Iran. Some reports even talk about a fifth one. And according to the latest news, the Iranians just shot down yet another US F-15 over Iraq. It's a real turkey shoot. What a disaster! Hollywood, reality. So in this video, we'll analyze exactly what happened and what it means for the course of the war. But before we start, a quick word from today's sponsor. Ceremonial cocoa has 40 milligrams of flavonols. This powder, 1,200. That's like comparing chuck roast to filet mignon. I like this cocoa powder by Black Forest so much that the jar you saw last time is now empty. I actually ordered a new batch from Black Forest because their cocoa powder has pharmaceutically extracted flavonols. Put it in your coffee, put it in your milk, it tastes amazing. I guess you can also raw dog it. I didn't try it though, so let me know how it goes. Here's what Rhonda Patrick had to say, one of the top independent science educators in the world.
And those who drank a beverage that had flavanol-rich cocoa in it 3 times a day for 6 months were able to walk 46 yards further in a 6-minute walking test compared to those that drank the placebo beverage. And so it was shown that the improvement in their walking ability was a consequence to increased blood flow in their calves and also improved muscle function. So that was a super interesting study. There was another study that was actually done in young, healthy males that showed that dark chocolate improve their cycling. So basically those that had dark chocolate were able to cycle 17% farther in the same amount of time than those that had the placebo control, which was white chocolate. The study also showed that they basically didn't need to consume as much oxygen to basically cycle farther as well.
Black Forest cocoa, flavonols and flavonoids, nitric oxide booster, cardio performance, heart health, and made in the USA. It's ceremonial cocoa put on steroids. And research proves it. You can look it up. Harvard studied this with 21,000 people. Final results, 27% reduction in heart attacks. You have the choice between some shaman ceremonial cocoa from Guatemala made by hippies overcharging you, or kickstart your mornings with this cocoa powder by Black Forest with 1,200 milligrams of flavonols. The good news is that if you're thinking about trying it, now's the time because Black Forest just launched their biggest deal of the year. And it's insane. 50% off their best-selling cocoa formula, available for 48 hours only. I repeat, this ends in 48 hours. And when it's over, it's gone for good. Take control of your health before someone else does it for you. This first incident occurred during Operation Epic Fury, part of the broader US bombing campaign against Iran. Once Iranian air defenses had been sufficiently degraded, F-15s were brought into the fight. The F-15E Strike Eagle is a multi-role fighter, but its preliminary mission is ground attack. It is designed to carry a heavy payload capable of delivering large numbers of bombs and missiles. In practice, F-15Es often act as high-volume delivery platforms for guided munitions. Because of this role, it's possible that the 3 US F-15E Strike Eagles involved in this incident were returning from an airstrike and were on their way back to Jordan, as this is where F-15Es were deployed according to OSINT. That's when we get clear footage of a US fighter jet in flames moments before crashing down. Truly unbelievable. So this immediately confirms this fighter jet was American and not Iranian. But could it have been Kuwaiti? No, because the Kuwaiti Air Force doesn't operate F-15s. So yes, this F-15 belonged to the US Air Force. Although it's important to note that Israel and Saudi Arabia also fly F-15s, but the single-seat F-15 AC variants only. And you'll understand why it's an important detail in a minute. The story of a plummeting F-15 was already enough of a disaster, but shortly after, another video was released making everything so much worse. In this one, we can observe a second US fighter jet in freefall just crashing down. And those are definitely two different aircraft because one was burning and the other wasn't. And guess what? Then came a third video. This time we see the F-15 and then boom! It gets hit in the tail. Follows an explosion and the aircraft just loses control. Here we have another angle from this F-15E Strike Eagle falling out in this morning sky over Kuwait. Moments later, locals filmed one of the pilots parachuting to the ground after ejecting from the fighter jet. Now, this could have been the end of the story. But then the locals started attacking the pilots. The event was made famous with this picture of a Kuwaiti with some sort of bat ready to strike the American pilot on his knees while raising his hands. They thought he was Iranian. And yeah, we also have a video of this. We can see how a dozen locals approached in their SUVs, and they're clearly very aggressive. Here's the moment the pilot goes on his knee, with Mr. Baseball Bat on the left. It's only after a couple of very tense seconds that the pilot makes them understand that he's in fact American, and then they kind of just leave him there. And let's say had he been Iranian, these guys would have showed him the local hospitality. A second pilot was just stuffed into the back of this van. Let's just say my favorite movies always start like that. Now compare what you just saw to how Kuwaiti residents approached the third pilot that was downed.
You're fine? Really? You need something to help you? No problem, you're safe. You're safe, you're safe. Everything good? No problem. Thank you for helping us. Everything perfect?
Female preferential treatment, it seems. Anyway, despite the small confusion, the positive news is that all 3 US pilots survived. They safely ejected from the aircraft and they're fine, with no life-threatening injuries. Here we actually have their pictures, 2 males and 1 female. Many thought they were, in fact, Israelis. I mean, they do have an Israeli look, you know, but turns out they're American. Unfortunately for this pilot here, he had a severe injury on his left hand. I can't show it to you, but it looks pretty bad. Now, if we zoom in on the back seat, we can see his helmet, which is the same helmet worn by the 335th Fighter Squadron of the 4th Operations Group. And that tells us a little bit more about the US order of battle in the Middle East. US Central Command then declared all 6 aircrew ejected safely, have been safely recovered and are in stable condition. Hold on, what? 6? Does it mean 6 aircraft were shot down? Wasn't it 3? Yes, because the F-15Es are dual-seat fighters, so a crew of 2 per fighter jet, 1 pilot and a weapons system officer, 3 F-15Es down, 6 aircrew. The internet, or rather Twitter, went up in flames asking, what happened? Did the Iranians really manage to shoot down 3 US Air Force fighter jets? Of course, this is what many people thought. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Iranian aviation has been surprisingly active, and the US is constantly striking Iranian air bases for a reason. But shortly after, the first reports indicated that this was actually the result of friendly fire. Or at least, that's the official story. So you tell me the US accidentally shot down 3 of its fighter jets? Wouldn't surprise me. During the Cold War, NATO air forces expected 10% of losses from friendly fire. Oh, and I almost forgot! The US military already went through a similar event not so long ago, namely the USS Gettysburg friendly fire incident. On the 22nd of December 2024, amid incoming Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, the Ticonderoga class cruiser USS Gettysburg mistook 3 US Navy FA-18F Super Hornets for enemy anti-ship missiles and drones. In response, it fired SM-2 missiles, downing 1 Super Hornet whose pilots ejected safely, and narrowly missing another Super Hornet. And a third F-18 was about to get targeted. A key factor was recurring failures and glitches in the ship's Identification Friend or Foe system, or IFF, plus issues with the Link 16 data links and correlated tracks, leading to misidentification despite known friendly air operations nearby. Luckily, no fatalities, but a major embarrassment. But this time it was actually the Kuwaiti allies that were responsible for accidentally shooting down 3 American F-15s.
Fuck.
This was later confirmed by US Central Command itself, which reported 3 US F-15E Strike Eagles flying in support of Operation Epic Fury went down over Kuwait due to an apparent friendly fire incident. During active combat, the US Air Force fighter jets were mistakenly shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses.
Oh, nah, I ain't seen nothing. I ain't seen nothing.
Is it true or is it cope? If we go back to the video of the F-15 getting hit, we can observe that the size of the blast was relatively small, and the fighter jet remained intact after being hit. This suggests that it's unlikely to be a large air defense interceptor that was fired like a Patriot. In that case, the result would have been way more catastrophic and probably fatal for the crew. For example, in August 2024, Ukraine's first F-16 fighter jet was downed from friendly fire from a Ukrainian-operated Patriot air defense system, and unfortunately the pilot didn't make it. So whatever hit the F-15 was rather small and low-powered, like a passive heat-seeking air intercept missile AIM-9 Sidewinders, meaning these F-15 Strike Eagles were shot down by another aircraft. That's when the Wall Street Journal revealed that it was actually a Kuwaiti F-18 Hornet that was behind this friendly fire incident. The story is that the Kuwaiti F-18 launched 3 missiles at the F-15s and scored 3 hits on target. Scoring 1 on goal is already humiliating enough, but 3 in a row? We have to look into his polymarket bets. On March 2nd, 3 American F-15s will be shot down over Kuwait. I mean, that Kuwaiti pilot is 2 aircrafts away from being the first ace of this war. So how could this have happened? We have to remember that this happened during a large Iranian attack against US bases located in Kuwait. Since February 28th, Iranian missiles and drones have been raining on the country. In this video, an air defense system intercepts an Iranian missile at close range, just before striking a military base. Here's an Iranian Shahed 136 attack drone that was shot down. Then we got news how it was the international airport of Kuwait that was struck by an Iranian drone, and because of that it became out of service. Allegedly, Italian troops deployed in Kuwait also suffered a number of casualties following Iranian strikes. Same thing for the Kuwaiti army. The Ali al-Salam airbase was targeted by several ballistic missiles and drones. This was later confirmed by this high-resolution Chinese satellite imagery, showing that same Ali al-Salam airbase with thick smoke rising. That's when, a couple kilometers to the north, an Iranian Harash-2 drone dived right into the US military camp, buoying. This was followed by an impressive explosion. Anyway, we can't say this war is not boring. Okay, I'll just head out. It's believed that it's in this attack that 6 American service members lost their lives. You can imagine that in this context, Kuwaiti air defense crews, Kuwaiti pilots must have been completely exhausted, days without sleep, and then comes yet another wave of Iranian missiles and drones. In times of stress, tension, crisis, Kuwaiti forces were on edge when their radars detected the American jets flying in, thinking they were Iranian fighter jets or Iranian drones. Now I have to admit that it's possible that the US Air Force F-15s were in fact patrolling and defending Kuwaiti airspace from Iranian drones and missiles. There are 2 clues that could lead this way. Number 1, let's take a look at the combat history of the 335th Fighter Squadron. On April 13, 2024, the airmen successfully engaged and destroyed more than 80 one-way Iranian attack drones, and at least 6 ballistic missiles on their way to Israel. So it's the type of mission they're already used to. Clue number 2, a photo released by CENTCOM shows an F-15E in full air-to-air loadout, including 4 AIM-120 AMRAAM, 4 AIM-9X SRAM, plus 4 APKWS kits that are developed based on the Hydra 70 unguided rockets and are specifically designed for counter-unmanned aircraft system missions. Oh, that was a mouthful. Not saying that I'm not used to it, but you see, identification friend or foe, or IFF, is actually very complex, especially in contested airspace. I mean, already during training it's not easy, so imagine in an all-out war, with all types of threats coming in. So a friend of a friend explained it like this. For fighter jets flying over friendly air defense, you need to either get in contact over comms with air defense units to identify you, Or number 2, have reliable IFF that simply tells air defense units who you are automatically. But this becomes complex when you have allies. And we have to admit that the F-15 had many issues in the past with IFF. It's possible that the American F-15Es were upgraded with the new EPA-WSS system, while Kuwaiti air defense was not configured to handle these new codes. Or it could also be that the US simply forgot to share this very information on IFF with Kuwait. Some analysts also blame this incident on the possibility of low recruitment standards and poor training of the Kuwaiti military, stress and lack of training, which could certainly explain part of what happened. So that's pretty much it about the friendly fire incident about the F-15. But the story is not completely over. We can also mention how on March 2nd, the Qatari Air Force claimed that one of its F-15 QAs shot down 2 Iranian Sukhoi Su-24s. The story is that the 2 Iranian fighters were flying at extremely low altitude, using a nap of the earth tactic to evade radar detection. Allegedly, they were heading towards the Al Udeid airbase and the major LNG Ras Laffan processing facility. That's when they were allegedly shot down. Yeah, I don't know about that. There's no visual confirmation, no independent verification of wreckage. The Iranians also deny this. Could be true, but for now, this claim is doubtful. It's also a bit sus that this announcement was made right after 3 American F-15s were shot down. And then on Wednesday, the 4th of March, some people claimed a 4th F-15 was shot down over Tehran. But turns out it's an Israeli F-35I that shot down an Iranian Yak-130 combat trainer over the capital of Iran. This marks the first time an F-35 downed a manned aircraft. I mean, the Israelis provided proof. We're still waiting for the proof from Qatar. And then, plot twist, that's when images showed some US Air Force F-15 on fire, allegedly shot down by Iranian forces. Some people even mentioned 2 F-15s downed by enemy air defense. I repeat, absolutely insane. The Twitter account OSINT Defender even wrote up this entire story after speaking to several direct sources. Then he writes how the pilot and weapons system officer were able to successfully eject over Iran, and that as a result, combat search and rescue elements on standby were activated to evacuate the crew members. The rumors were spreading so fast that CENTCOM was obligated to come out and respond to it, stating it's not true that F-15s crashed in Iran.
Right.
So we could be looking at 5 F-15s shot down. What do you think? Do you think they're coping and it's damage control? Or the rumors are actually fake? I mean, I remember the air battle between Pakistan and India. And it's only after we got actual footage from wreckage that we could confirm that India lost some aircraft. So how come the Iranians didn't publish any footage of the destruction or even the wreckage of these F-15s that fell within their own lines? And then they did. The Iranians showed footage of how they shot down this F-15E Strike Eagle over Iraq. And then the locals filmed the pilot parachuting down near Basra International Airport. This is the only information we have for now. I'll keep you updated. In conclusion, this friendly fire incident highlights the lack of coordination between the US Air Force and its allies from the Gulf states. Such failures in identification procedures could make US aircraft more hesitant to intervene directly in future operations to defend GCC airspace against Iranian attacks, which in turn would mean more destruction of the infrastructure of the Gulf states. If there's any update, I'll let you know. That's all I have for you today. See you in the next one.